Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is MTG Ghoul Dude, back again after a wonderful 2024. And I want to start a series about lands that we see in the Commander format that I think should maybe either you should put in your decks or should be in most of these decks. And I am going to start out with monocolored decks. And if you read the title and you see the background, you already know we're doing white first. So let's go on ahead and get into it, starting off with Minas Tirith. And the qualifications that I used for this list are lands that produce one color of the color of the video and have an ability, or most of the time enter untapped for some way. So first off is Minas Tirith. It is a legendary land. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature, which, playing mono white, depending on the legendary, it could come out pretty fast. It couldn't always come out untapped. But it does make white, and it does have the ability. For 1 and a white, you can tap it to draw a card. Only activate if you attacked with 2 or more creatures this turn. Now, being in a mono white deck, there is a very heavy possibility that you could be attacking with creatures, so just saying. Or it could just be a control deck, you never know. But this is a good include. It helps with card draw a little bit, especially if you do have enough creatures to attack. Next off, we have Aganjo, Seat of the Empire. It does tap for a white, and it does have the channel ability, which can be reduced for each legendary creature you control. But the channel ability is for 2 and a white. You can discard it. It deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This was a standard all-star, and it is still a good card, especially in EDH where, early on, if you really need to blow up that 4 toughness creature or less, it's at your disposal. And now we are kind of at the end of the super good cards, and I kind of want to note some budget options that would go really well in kind of the budgeter decks, or decks that are maybe a little bit more mana hungry. Starting out with Secluded Steppe. Enters tapped, yeah, but it does tap for a white, and this is one of those includes from the cycling type of lands, and all of these lands would be great includes. But another type of land I would be interested in playing is the Remote Farm, which enters tapped, but it comes with 2 depletion counters, and if you can playing in more than just white, you can proliferate it and make it more. But this is just for mono white decks or any deck with white. But the depletion counters come with an ability, so you can tap it to remove a depletion counter from it to add 2 white mana, and if there are no depletion counters on it, sacrifice it. Excuse me. So an interesting thing to me is bursts of mana. So like, say you have a way to untap your lands in white somehow. Being able to tap this, remove a counter, have 2 white, untap it, add another 2 white, that's 4 white mana. That's crazy for 1 land. But besides like Nykthos or something, or Romana Rock, like Nyx Lotus. But depletion lands are really good to me, especially if you can get it out early, like turn 1. This comes out, you're playing a turn 3 spell, a 3 mana spell. If you didn't play a Soul Ring, and then you're up to 4 mana, and that's 2 white and 2 colorless. I mean, you can't get no better than that. But I mean, at the same time, this ramps so fast that when you do inevitably sacrifice it, the drawbacks aren't as bad as you would think they are. And this is another one of those sacrifice lands. But for me, Ruins of Trokair is good because you can keep tapping it for mana, or you have the ability to sacrifice it for 2. So it gives you that spurt of mana if you really need it. And then we come into the storage lands, and for the storage lands, I like the Incatantian store. I don't know how to pronounce that word. For anybody that played during this time, let me know. Like, give me a pronunciation guide for this one. Be really appreciated. But it does come in tapped, and you may choose to untap it during your untap phase and put a storage counter on it instead. Now, I don't know about you, but I love not having to worry about something. Like, if I have a land that I don't have to worry about untapping, but I just make sure I just put a counter on it, that's amazing. And this is one of those ones that consistently keep building up. And I mean, you can remove X from it. So after it's been on the battlefield for like 6 turns, oh well, your board just got wiped and your 4 mana commander now is, stuck behind a mana wall. Well, no, because you have these 6 mana to try and, well, 5 mana and whatever other lands you have to recast your commander, and then you still have extra mana left. So these storage lands are nothing to, they're nothing to leave alone. You gotta watch your lands. Fountain of Cho is another one of the great storage lands. Like I said, just like all of them, come and tap, and you can tap it. Now, it's good if you can just leave it by itself. For me, if you want to use storage lands, you have to be able to not have to put any extra land into it. So like any of the storage lands that say tap 1 and tap it, those are kind of a little too far for me. I preferred the ones that you just tap it to put a counter on it, or you tap it and remove any of it. It's still pretty cool. And just like the last one, you can tap it to remove any number of storage counters from it, and then you add 1 white mana for each. So still amazing. The storage lands are not to be slept on, especially in casual. The more odd ones are the creature lands. If you can find a way to fit the creature lands, you never know, board wipes happen, and then guess what? Now you still have a creature that is on the board. So, having a creature land isn't always that bad. Foreboding Watchtower is a regular land, comes into play tapped, and you can tap to add white to your mana pool. But for 1 and a white, you can make it a 1/5 soldier creature until end of turn. And if you have these board wipes that say, destroy all non-land permanents, guess what? It's still a land, so it's still a creature. Still a pretty good effect, if you ask me. Then we have the Mistveil Plains, which is notable. It is searchable with a fetch land because it does have the Plains type. So that's also to note. It's kind of like the Mistveil Plains. That's kind of like the white Mystic Sanctuary. There we go. Which is still pretty good. And it has the ability it taps from white, and it also tap a white, tap it, put a target card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. Activated this only if you control 2 or more white permanents. If you're playing mono white, this is no big deal. Most definitely easy to do, unless you just got a board wipe. But later on, you can recycle some of those necessary things you might need, like somebody counters your what's it called, your what is it called, the Approach of the Second Sun. It says target card, you find a way to get it again. It's still pretty awesome. Now, on to our last, more budget include the Fair Basilica. Enters tapped, taps for a white. But this does provide a little bit of card advantage because you can tap 1 and a white and you can sacrifice it to draw a card. But that is going to be it for today. I appreciate everybody that likes, comments, shares the videos. Let me know what you think about my list. If you have any lands that produce just white that you would have included in this list. I'm always down to learn new things, learn about new lands, because if you stop learning, you stop growing. You stop growing, Oh, that's a bad thing. But let me know what you guys think of this. I will be continuing with the rest of the colors in the following weeks. This is just the start of it. I got to come up with a fancy, snazzy name. Hopefully, by the time you see this, I have. But yep. But like I said, I appreciate everybody that does all the things for the channel. Couldn't do it without you guys, and I will see you guys next time in the graveyard.